Yesterday, Elon Musk put the final nail in OpenAI's coffin. Let's see. I could be wrong, but let's see. All right. So here's what's going on, guys. All right. You got three major players in AI. Okay. And this is a story here. So hang with me because it's pretty fascinating and it's happening in real time. So you got three major players in AI. You got SpaceX / XAI. You got OpenAI, and you got Anthropic, okay? So XAI, that's Grok. You got OpenAI, that's ChatGPT. And you got Anthropic, that's Claude. So those are the three big players, okay? And what's happening now is we need to talk about the backstory, the history between them all, because they're all related. They all started 2015, OpenAI started. OpenAI Foundation was a nonprofit. Elon was one of the early investors. He started it with Sam Altman, who's currently the CEO of OpenAI. And the mission was the name was OpenAI, right? So open source AI. They wanted to make an AI that was safe to combat Google, right? And so that, the theory was AI would be evil. So let's make an AI that's safe. Let's keep it open source. It's a nonprofit organization. We're going to help humanity, okay? So along the way, another guy started working there. His name was Dario. Dario is the CEO of Anthropic, okay? So they're all tied together in the beginning at OpenAI when it was a nonprofit. Somewhere along the way, Elon, Sam, falling out, whatever, Elon leaves, okay? Sam Altman then takes OpenAI from nonprofit to for-profit, okay? So now it becomes this profit company, this profit-driven enterprise. And around the time, if we go back to, I think it was 2022, when ChatGPT first came out, that was when Microsoft made a $10 billion investment in OpenAI, and in turn, ChatGPT came out. So that's kind of where most of us come into this story, right? Like, we don't know the backstory. We just found ChatGPT one day. We thought it was cool. We're like, yo, this is dope, game changer, let's use it, right? So, and then before that, right before that, Dario left OpenAI as well and founded Anthropic. Now, all this is going to come back around in a minute, okay? So you got the three players. We got Elon Musk with XAI, SpaceX, who helped found OpenAI that Sam Altman is the CEO of. And then we got Dario from Anthropic, who used to be part of OpenAI as well, left, didn't agree with the things that Sam was doing. So the story goes, left, started Anthropic. Okay, so why are these three companies so important? Why are we not talking about Gemini or the other AIs that are out there, or Meta or any of them? Here's why, guys, okay? So when you have a business, okay, it starts as a private business, right? So like right now, I have Fortified Realty Group. This is my private company. I'm building my business, I'm growing it, I'm trying to take market share, I'm doing different things. So over time, you take on investors, right? So right now, if I could raise $4 million for Fortified from an investor and give them 10% of the company, my company is now worth $40 million. So on paper, I'm worth $36 million, but it's illiquid. I can't do anything with it. There's nobody that can buy that equity off me, okay? So that's how private companies work, right? So you have these businesses that are growing, and you have AI right now, which is totally disruptive, totally changing the world. This is the hottest thing out right now, and these companies are getting absurd private valuations, okay? What are the valuations? Right now, SpaceX, approximately $1.5 trillion private valuation. OpenAI is raising capital, and the valuations come in two ways, right? Every time they raise capital, it resets the value of the company, right? Somebody pays $4 million for 10% of Fortified, it's worth $40 million, right? If the next round I sell another 10% for $8 million, then everybody's cut is worth more, right? The company's now worth more. Instead of 90%, I have 80%, and it goes from there, okay? So OpenAI, their last round, they were around 800, 900 billion with a B dollars, okay? Anthropic, right now, they're raising money, right around that same amount, $800 to $900 billion. So you have three private companies combined worth of approximately $3 trillion. Wild, right? But it's private equity, so it's not as liquid as a public company. So what do? The next step is you go public. You IPO, initial public offering. That's where people like us can buy shares, okay? So the first one to go public will be SpaceX, right? They've already announced. Now, let's pause really quick. Here's the problem that these AI companies have, okay? We're gonna get back to the IPO, so pause that right there and let's talk about what's really happening with these AI companies and how Elon put the nail in their coffin, okay? So AI requires a lot of compute power. It's very compute intense. Every time you go on ChatGPT and ask it for a chocolate chip cookie recipe and the best place to buy the chocolate chips for that recipe and the butter and whatever, it's like some data center somewhere spinning up. You know, it's like $30,000 worth of computing power to get you that answer, right? So think of that multiplied by the millions of people a day using these platforms. It's crazy, it's crazy. So they need data centers. And these companies are starving for computing power. They don't have the chips to power the AI. They can't feed the demand, right? So, case in point, okay? ChatGPT recently, they had their video platform, right? Where you could make videos and it would create these little 10-second videos. They shut that down, right? So they're starved for compute. So how do they get their computing power? Because ChatGPT, they don't really own a lot of compute yet, right? So they're paired up with Microsoft. That was part of that, the reason why they got with Microsoft, right? Anthropic, same thing, they're making deals. NVIDIA makes deals with all these companies. That's how all these chip makers right now are at all-time high valuations, right? It's like everywhere you look, there's deals being announced, they're committing to buy chips, all this stuff, right? You look at earnings calls from Meta, from Amazon, from Microsoft, from Google, from Tesla, just CapEx expenditures out the wazoo. And it's all to build data centers to satisfy the insane demand for AI compute, okay? So ChatGPT, OpenAI, they don't have a lot of big data centers. They're banking on Microsoft to build those data centers for them, among other partnerships they've announced. Anthropic, same thing. So SpaceX though, XAI, they own two of the biggest data centers in the world, Colossus 1 and Colossus 2. This is where Elon's smart. He built the infrastructure, right? So Grok maybe isn't as great or refined or as adopted yet as ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any of the other multitude of ones out there, right? You can give all the faults you want to Grok and all that. But he built the data centers. Typical Elon fashion, right? Electric cars, he built out the supercharger network. AI, he built out the data centers. So Elon's got compute out the wazoo. He's got more compute than he needs right now, right? So ChatGPT, they're on the struggle bus. They're trying to get compute. Anthropic on the struggle bus. They're trying to get compute, okay? Anthropic has Claude. So the difference too of OpenAI and Anthropic, OpenAI is more consumer driven, right? Consumers use ChatGPT. Claude is more business oriented, enterprise oriented, right? They have Opus, they're known for coding. OpenAI is trying to get into that field because it's way more lucrative, right? So now let's go back to the beginning of the story because this is where it gets interesting and we're tying it into the nail in the coffin. There's a lot here, guys. 10 years of history in disruptive businesses, okay? So remember I said in the beginning, Elon started OpenAI as a nonprofit with Sam Altman. And then they had that falling out, Elon left. There's a massive lawsuit right now. Elon is suing OpenAI for $134 billion, all right? Basically, the premise of the lawsuit is that they were supposed to be a nonprofit. They became a for-profit. They did some shady dealings. And, you know, he just wants to get some retribution. He doesn't want the money. He already said if he wins and gets the money, he's giving it to charity. It doesn't matter. It's a war, man. Like, So he's beefing with OpenAI right now, okay? Now, OpenAI, in spite of that, had a pretty good week last week. They came out with Codex, which is a direct competitor to Anthropic's Claude product. Claude Opus 4.7, which is their coding product, was a little bit not as good as it could be, right? And Anthropic, because of their compute issue, had to dial back the amount of time you could use it. My Twitter feed is full of people complaining that they got timed out on Claude, okay? They're paying all this money every month and Claude keeps shutting them off because they don't have the compute, okay? So OpenAI, Elon Musk started it together. They got beef. They got a lawsuit going, okay? Anthropic was kind of related to them in the beginning. Dario left. He's got his company, competes with OpenAI, competes with XAI. He's starving for compute. He doesn't really have beef with Elon, right? Anthropic's thing is kind of similar, right? They have the same ideals as Elon with AI, okay? Do a little research on Sam Altman. He is definitely a shady dude. Some of you guys are telling your deepest, darkest secrets to ChatGPT, and they are using them, and they are going to use them against you at some point, all right? I don't know. I don't trust it. I used it in the past. I stopped using ChatGPT. I just don't trust it. Now, Perplexity uses ChatGPT for some tasks. You know, I have an enterprise account with Perplexity for data security. Who the hell knows? I don't know. But anyways, all right, so that's where we are. Now let's go back to the beginning of the story when I was talking about how private businesses go public. This is the nail in the coffin moment, I think, okay? This is where it's coming together, guys. Big story, a lot of moving parts. We're gonna bring it all together, all right? You ready? Let's do it. Okay, so you got a private company. These three companies alone as private companies are over $3 trillion in valuation. It's insane, okay? All these people that invested early, the only way that they can really get rich is they have to be able to cash out. That's where the initial public offering comes in. Now your company's public, it's traded on the stock market, you have liquidity in your shares, there's a lockup period, I think 6 months typically, and then the insiders can begin to sell. That's the ultimate goal of any of these private businesses. Now, that's a lot, right? And typically in the past, when an industry develops and all these companies start going public at once, there's only so much the market can take, right, before they run out. So who gets there first wins big. Who gets there second also wins. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth one to go public, there's usually not a lot left for them, okay? So SpaceX filed for their IPO. We've talked about this before on the channel. They're going public. The consensus is June-ish with a $2 trillion valuation. They're going to raise $85 billion in cash on this IPO, okay? They're the first ones. They're gonna be all over the news. Everybody's gonna love Elon again. CNBC, MSNBC, whatever, right? Bloomberg, all the different Fox Business, you know, they're all gonna be out there trotting it away, pumping it up, okay? So SpaceX, I'm pretty sure will be the first one. Now, who will be second? Will it be OpenAI and will it be Anthropic? Well, last night what Elon did, SpaceX made a deal with Anthropic. Remember I told you Elon's got Colossus 1 and Colossus 2, the two big data centers. Anthropic was starting to lose a little bit of headway to OpenAI because Anthropic had to suffocate their product. They had to cut the user time because they couldn't support the compute and the demand. Guess what? They solved that problem. Elon gave them a deal to use Colossus. Now Anthropic's got all the compute it needs. So think about this. Elon's got beef with Sam Altman. He's in a lawsuit with OpenAI, right? It doesn't matter whether he wins or loses this lawsuit, to be 100% honest. He's shaking confidence in OpenAI's investors. He's kind of messing with their whole company, right? Their whole situation, okay? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Shout out to Invest Answers. He wrote a great Substack. I love how he put this together. It's so true, right? So Elon hooks up Anthropic, co-signs them basically, gives them the compute that they need, which now leaves OpenAI stranded on an island waiting for Microsoft to invest $50 billion, hopefully by next year, to build a data center to support ChatGPT and OpenAI. So what happens? SpaceX is gonna IPO, great little tidbit of news right before their IPO, extra revenue for the company, perfect timing for SpaceX. Anthropic wins, they get their thing. They're having record revenue run rates. I use Claude all the time for coding through Perplexity Computer. It's a great product. Now they're going to be more powerful than ever. They will probably, if I had to guess, will be the second one to IPO. So they'll get all the FOMO from the first one. Everybody who missed the SpaceX one will go into that. And OpenAI will be an afterthought. By the time they get their poop together and they IPO, it's probably too late, right? There'll be Dario will probably come ahead of them. There'll be some other big AI players coming ahead of them, and they're out. So man, so crazy, bro. You know what I mean? Don't mess with Elon. Don't mess with him, man. Like, the dude is a capital allocator, right? Like, I don't know. You know, you can say what you want about Tesla. You know, I have all these debates with people, but you can't bet against this guy. Like, when it comes to capital allocation, when it comes to understanding trends and where things are going, having the foresight to build out the data centers, you know, before you need it, just like he did with the superchargers before there was enough Teslas on the road. Everybody made fun of him back in the day. The dude is on it, all right? This SpaceX IPO is going to be insane. I'm very convinced that SpaceX and Tesla will probably merge in the future. Let me tell you this, here's the other thing too, all right? This is what I'm thinking may happen, okay? A lot of people are gonna stupidly chase this IPO, okay? And they'll chase the next one too, if it's Anthropic, whoever it is. So a lot of good stuff is going to sell off a little bit because people are freeing up cash. And that's the other thing too, right? If SpaceX IPOs at 2 trillion, you got Anthropic over $1 trillion, potentially OpenAI over $1 trillion. That's like $4 trillion at once. That sucks a lot of wind out of the market. That money has to come from somewhere, right? All that money flowing in, all that capital they're gonna raise has to come from somewhere. So I think what'll happen is people will foolishly sell off Tesla, Google, other good stocks, you know, to buy this IPO and chase it because of the hype and the FOMO. So here's the tip. Stack some cash, wait for that sell-off, and when that happens, buy the other stuff on sale. That's it. That's what I'm doing, right? I've said this before. I'm gonna try to get pre-IPO shares of SpaceX. If I can get it, depending on the price, whatever, I'll write it. It's cool, I'll hold it. I don't mind holding it. But I'm not selling Tesla to do it. If I don't get the SpaceX pre-IPO shares, I'm watching Tesla hard. I'm hoping there's a dip there, and I'm layering into that dip. That's what I'm doing. If Google dips, I missed this little Google run, which was nuts, but whatever, it doesn't matter. You can't win them all. But that's it, guys. So what a crazy story. No matter what happens with this lawsuit, I don't think Elon cares if he wins or loses. It doesn't matter. He got to put Sam Altman on blast. He got to put the story out there. He's messing with Sam's whole operation. And in the end, he blessed Anthropic with what they needed to really defeat OpenAI. So we'll see what happens. OpenAI, people are companies, look, Microsoft's tied at the hip with them. NVIDIA made some big deals with them. So they're not gonna go bankrupt tomorrow, but I don't see how they last. I really don't. They're just, I don't know. They're trying to find their way. They started consumer. They're trying to get into enterprise. Anthropic's kind of got that locked down. XAI will do the same thing. They'll fill in that gap and suck a lot of market share from them. So it is what it is, guys. But so crazy. A little bit of history here. Kind of a long one, but there's a lot of moving parts to it. And I just thought it was so fascinating and interesting. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is Sam Altman really a good guy? I don't know the guy. I'm just telling you what I see. When I watch interviews with him, I don't know, something about him, it just doesn't jive with me. You know what I mean? I just feel like there's an angle there, But hey, whatever. Let me know below. Comment and keep an eye on this. And let me know how you're playing the IPOs if and when they come. All right, guys, later.